Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, I have, a couple of Mothman or Flying Cryptid stories from Missouri folks. Both, or should I say all three of them, are pretty damn good. Let's get into this article titled, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, Winged Humanoid Sightings Near Historic 1941 UFO Crash Site. Indeed, folks, back in 1941, a UFO was said to have fallen there, but we'll get to that maybe later on. After I'm through reading through these stories, folks. Cape Girardeau, Missouri is no stranger to high strangers. Long before recent reports of winged humanoids crossing local roadways, the area was tied to one of the earliest alleged UFO crash retrieval cases in American history. Now, decades later, multiple independent witnesses describe dark, membranous flying beings seen within a mile of one another, raising a question that refuses to go away. Is this region a recurring focal point of unexplained activity? What follows are two encounters that occurred in the same Missouri city in close proximity to one another under strikingly similar circumstances. Let's read the first. October 8th, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Between 8 and 9 p.m., a Cape Girardeau woman was driving east on Bertling Street near the Southeast Missouri State softball field after taking her children to see Halloween decorations. As she crested a hill approaching a stop sign, she noticed something in the sky to the right of the road. Roughly 100 feet ahead, near a grove of tall trees spanning 2 to 3 acres, she observed what she first interpreted as a human figure. It was suspended midway above the road, higher than the streetlights, but not extremely elevated. The light from the nearby softball field partially illuminated it. She described the figure as approximately 6 feet tall, entirely black, and darker than the night sky behind it. It appeared to have long pointed feet, angled downward and scrawny, but muscular calves. The wings were tightly closed around the body, skin-like membranes rather than feathers. They extended above the head, but were shorter than the legs. The head appeared small and rounded, with slightly pointed tip. The being seemed to have just leaped or dove from the trees. She stated the posture resembled someone preparing to dive, with arms extended and wings wrapped inward. She compared it to the creature depicted in the film Jeepers Creepers. The sighting lasted 6 to 8 seconds. Her fiancé thought he caught a partial glimpse. She hesitated to retrieve her phone, fearing the creature might notice her. Afterward, she searched online and discovered other Missouri reports of winged humanoids, including a 2016 West Alton encounter originally reported to Phantoms and Monsters. West Alton is approximately 125 miles north, suggesting a wider regional pattern. Okay, people are seeing these creatures now all over America, including Missouri, but the fact that these encounters take place near this, Cape Girardeau alien crash site, folks, is particularly interesting, folks. Why? Are these entities interested in what happened here, folks? Is that why they're here studying it? Or are there other reasons? We can talk a little more later. Let's get to the next story. October 2020, Lexington Avenue near Spring Street. Approximately 1 mile from the previous sighting location, two sisters experienced their own encounter around 6 p.m. while driving. Beverly Weekly, 67, was driving. Brenda F. Long, who was 60, was in the passenger seat. As they passed Spring Street, something crossed the road roughly 10 to 15 feet ahead of them. Brenda initially saw only a large dark mass with whipping, fluting motion. She described it as blackish brown, more brown than black, and unlike anything she had ever seen before. At first, she wondered if it was a large rug caught in the wind, but there was no wind. Beverly saw more details. She described it as 5 to 6 feet long, about 8 feet off the ground. The wings were membranous, ribbed like umbrellas, and appeared to ripple in a wave-like motion. It did not flap in a conventional manner. Instead, sections of the wings undulated independently. She didn't clearly see a head or limbs, but it felt the body was shrouded within the wings. It narrowed toward the rear as if wrapped tightly. The movement was fluid and unusual. Neither woman could determine whether or where it went. Both were shaken. They initially told family members, who dismissed it as leaves, a crane, or imagination. They remained consistent in their testimony and only revisited it after learning of other sightings in the same area. Undoubtedly, folks, along with basically these other sightings, these women had to basically come to the conclusion that this entity they saw was indeed probably very, very real, folks. Or at least, if it's anything else, folks, it was a hoax perpetrated on them as well as on the entire community. Why? We don't know. But as I said, we can talk a little more about that and with other things that I basically brought up in the article after we read through the next story, folks. Either way, truly interesting, folks. and beyond, well, compare. But I'm kind of just taking up time. Let's talk about the next story, folks. The historical context of the 1941 Cape Girardeau UFO crash. And talk about how all of this might relate together, folks. Cape Girardeau carries an additional layer of mystery. In April 1941, Reverend William Hoffman of the Red Star Baptist Church was reportedly called to pray over victims of what authorities initially described as a plane crash. According to family testimony later provided by his granddaughter, Charlotte Mann, Hoffman encountered a disc-shaped craft broken in half in a rural field. Inside were panels and hieroglyphic-like symbols. Outside lay 3 small non-human bodies, approximately 4 feet tall, large-headed, with elongated arms and large vertical oval eyes. One was reportedly still breathing when Hoffman arrived and expired as he prayed. Military personnel allegedly arrived, secured the scene, and ordered silence under National Security Authority. A photograph taken by a civilian reportedly depicted one of the deceased beings being held upright by 2 local men. The image later disappeared. The case was publicized by Leonard Stringfield in his status report and later investigated by researcher James Westwood, though debated and unproven. The narrative predates Roswell by 6 years and remains embedded in Cape Girardeau lore. Additionally, Dr. Haley Rutledge, former physics department chair and at Southwest Missouri State University, documented multiple UFO sightings in the region during the 1970s in his book, Project Identification. Cape Girardeau is not a one-off location in the annuals of anomalous history. Here's some commentary as well, folks. Patterns: membranous wings, lack of feathers, dark mass, darker than the background sky, short duration crossings over roadways, tree line association, witness reluctance and fear of ridicule. There's also the next point, emotional tone, folks. Shock, confusion, hesitation to report, consistency over time, no embellishment attempts. These are the facts of these stories, folks, that you see in all of them. The next point in the commentary is the geographic cluster. 2 winged humanoid sightings within 1 mile of each other. Historical UFO crash narrative within the same county. Prior Missouri flying humanoid reports is something to take in as well, folks. But let's get to the next part of this article. Theoretical considerations. Possible unknown biological species, interdimensional or ultra-terrestrial manifestation, energy-related or atmospheric phenomena mimicking biological form, psychological misidentification seems unlikely given independent corroboration and proximity. Cape Girardeau may represent a localized window area where multiple types of anomalous phenomena intersect. And there's a note as well, folks. Cape Girardeau has quietly accumulated decades of unexplained reports from alleged alien retrieval in 1941 to modern winged humanoid sightings near the same wooded corridors. Whether coincidence or continuity, the pattern deserves serious documentation rather than dismissal. Indeed, folks, I have to agree with this, but why is this all happening at Cape Girardeau in Missouri? Do you suppose this area is a window area? Well, I've talked about that before, folks, where basically these are areas where basically the membrane, or I guess the space itself, is thin. Basically, that entities from another world, or perhaps maybe these entities use this thinness between basically this, or other dimensions, folks, to pass into our reality, or maybe even basically use it as a way to travel through space, folks. Basically using this as a kind of portal from one area of space to the other. It's another idea to consider. But does that mean that these Mothmen are aliens? What is their relationship with basically these small gray beings that were basically reported in Cape Girardeau back in 1941? You know, the classic gray type aliens. I've said before, folks, that maybe there's a relationship between these entities, Mothman and the Greys, as well as maybe even, the Chupacabra, folks, because they all have similar qualities to each other. I mean, the Mothmen fly, the Chupacabras fly like the Mothmen, but they resemble the great aliens, while the great aliens are just as mysterious as either other entities. Either way, until we know more, we just have to wonder about it, folks. But we're now at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics that are bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure you hit the part of the bell. That'll give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video. So be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.